Hello, it's Matty F Baby back with some more Kingdom Cup action, and today we're going to be going over a Kingdom Cup team building guide. It was posted by Street Credit on Reddit, so we're going to go look over what he posted on Reddit, and we're going to break it all down for you, and then talk about our team that we have and the potential future of our team as well, and go for the team that he built himself using his guide. So let's go dive right in. Posted by Reddit user Street Credit, Kingdom Cup Team Building Guide and updated Kingdom Meta infographic by matchups. Kingdom Cup Team of 6 template in order of importance: 1. Lucario, 2. Bastiodon, 3. Lucario and Bastiodon counter, 4. Lucario counter, 5. Counter to Lucario and Bastiodon counters, 6. Bastiodon counter or mold breaker or another Pokemon from brackets 5, 4, or 3. Mold breakers are mons that do not fit into 3, 4, or 5 but still have some good matchups. Reasoning for grouping and importance: 1. Lucario, 2. Bastiodon. The first two slots have to go to Lucario and Bastiodon because they have the most coverage based on their typing and moves. See all arrows going out of their boxes in the diagram. Alright, let's start with Lucario. His first arrow goes straight down to counter Bastiodon. His second red arrow goes up and then over to the right to counter Group 5, which is the Lapras, Celio, Altaria, all that jazz. He has a third red arrow to the left that loops down and hits up number 6, the Bastiodon counters, the Flygon and Empoleon. And if you also look at the mold breakers, Melmetal, Steelix, Abomasnow, he's also going to handle all of those. And even Skarmory does not want to see him TBH. Next we have Bastiodon with the gold arrows coming out of him. The first one goes down into the right over to Group 5 to counter the Lapras Celio group. The next arrow goes up and over to the right to counter Group 4, the Charizard and Alolan Marowak. He can take at least 2 Bone Clubs from Marowak. It also does well against the Mold Breakers, except for the Steelix's Earthquake. 3. Lucario and Bastiodon counter. The next most important is a Pokemon that can counter both. As in a team of 3, chances are one or both of those Pokemon will be there. So that gives you a 1 in 3 or 2 in 3 chance of getting a positive matchup if you use. So we look at Blaziken. It directly counters Lucario and Bastiodon, whereas the counters from Group 4 and Group 6 can only counter one directly. The Lucario counters are going to get wrecked by the Bastiodon. The Marowak has a better chance with the Bone Clubs. It's more situational, not a direct wreckage. The Bastiodon counters are going to get wrecked by the Lucario for sure. So when you bring the Blaziken, it gives you a chance to counter both Lucario and Bastiodon. Whereas if you bring in the specific counters, you could find yourself in a less optimal position that the Blaziken would not find itself in as much. Number 4, Lucario counter. Another Lucario counter is needed in your team of 6 because if your Blaziken or other Bastiodon counter faces a Bastiodon and you don't have another Lucario counter ready, then the enemy Lucario can sweep your team. So here we have Group 4. Obviously to the left it has a gold arrow going out to counter Lucario, and then down to the left it has a gold arrow going out to counter number 3, the Blaziken, which is the Lucario and Bastiodon counter. And it's saying, let's say your Blaziken has had to deal with your opponent's Bastiodon. You want to have something from Group 4 on your team still to handle the Lucario that the Blaziken was not also able to deal with. So if you have that Blaziken and something from Group 4, you're pretty set to counter the Bastiodon and the Lucario in those situations. 5. A counter to Lucario and Bastiodon counters. Having a counter to number 3 and number 4 is more important than a counter to Bastiodon because Lucario can already do that for you. Do you know what I am saying? Also, this Pokemon is essential to bring if you predict that your opponent will not bring Lucario or Bastiodon in their team of 3. So here we have Group 5, the Lapras group. They have an arrow going straight up to Group 4, the Lucario counters of Charizard and Alolan Marowak. Next, it also has a blue arrow going out to counter that Blaziken, and then also goes down to counter the Bastiodon counter. So basically, the core group for this tournament, Lucario and Bastiodon, if you're thinking your opponent's not going to run them and we're going to run a lot of the counters to them, that's what you need these Pokemon in Group 5 for. 6. Bastiodon Counter or Mold Breaker, or another Mon from 5, 4, 3. This is like a free slot where I don't think you need to use this Mon that much unless you have the hard read on your opponent or you think you can throw them off. So he basically says the number 6 is like a free wildcard slot. You can basically go back and double back to a previous group that you like 2 Pokemon for, but only want to pick 1 Pokemon from that group. You can also go and pick something from the group 6s. We got the Bastiodon counters like Flygon that I really like at the bottom, or Empoleon, or we got the Mold Breakers to the right. I really like the Melmetal, and then the Earthquake on Steelix could be pretty nice with that crunch action too. It could be like something to counter Bastiodon a little bit. Alright, so there was his guide. Thank you, Street Credit, for that. It is very nicely done. I was so happy when I saw it because it really made me feel pretty confident about my team thus far, and it also made me look at it through different ways as well, so very appreciative of that. Let's look at his team that he has built with this guide. The first 3, he has a pretty basic. He has the 1, 2, and 3 from an order of importance that he listed earlier. Lucario, Bastiodon, then Blaziken. The Lucario and Bastiodon movesets, you're going to want the counter, and then Shadow Ball, Power Up Punch for Lucario, and then Bastiodon, you're looking for Smackdown and Stone Edge and Flamethrower as the charge moves. Blaziken, he wants counter, and then you got Brave Bird, Focus Blast, and Overheat. I think go Brave Bird. You're not going to get to your charge moves very much with Blaziken, and usually, in my experience so far, you're usually lucky when you get to one of them, and that's when I have had Brave Bird on it, so it's the lowest energy cost, and that's what I have on mine personally. And Stone Edge is hard to get, which is what he mentions, and we'll go through why he chose Blaziken here, what he says, because the first 2 are kind of gimmies. He says Stone Edge is hard to get, not really needed when played in this role because Blaziken is the only Mon that can counter both Lucario and Bastiodon in 1 versus 1 situation. Also can do damage to ice before dying, but mainly should be used versus the Lucario and Bastiodon. So it is basically there just to counter those 2 things. Basically the same way in future cups we've had things like Venomoth who's like, hey, I'm here and I want you, Toxicroak. So next he has number 4 slot. He chose Alolan Marowak, and he has Rock Smash, Shadow Ball, Bone Club. I would argue that we want Hex on our Alolan Marowak, but I do understand that this is going to be up for debate throughout the community. We like the energy gain from Hex. Anyways, he says it's a toss-up between Charizard and Alolan Marowak, but he likes the Alolan Marowak design is really interesting and has better matchup versus Ice Pokemon, so I like the Alolan Marowak a lot too. Number 5, he chose Lapras with Ice Shard, Surf, and Ice Beam. He says it can truly beat all the other Mons from groups 3, 4, and 5 with a few exceptions, and he has a detailed explanation on his little list or whatever, you know what I'm saying, on the post. Alright, number 6, he chose Skarmory with Air Slash, Wing Attack, Flash Cannon. He says it beats Flygon, Altaria, Blaziken, and he doesn't think there'll be much fire to threaten it. Plus already has one made from before, so it's cheap for him. So that comes into account when we're building our teams as well, guys. So you're not always able to get perfect teams. So I think this is why this is a really good guide. It can kind of show you what Pokemon you have and where they fit and how you can use them. So next, let's look at my team. So we also have the base start of 1 and 2 with Lucario and Bastiodon. We skipped the number 3 and do not have a Blaziken currently, but now we are, we're thinking about it lately because, like he said, makes a good point to where it gives you a really good probability standpoint. You're going up against a Lucario or a Bastiodon, whereas other Pokemon can only deal with one or the other. So probability-wise, you can get yourself into worse matchups that way. So next, we have 2 Pokemon from the anti-Lucario group. We have the Alolan Marowak and the Charizard. We have the Flygon from the number 6, the Bastiodon counter group, and we also have Altaria, which Altaria I think is pretty good at clearing the deck as well of a lot of the Lucario and Bastiodon counters, and that's why I really like it as well. I kind of am thinking about getting Blaziken on my team now because I do like the idea of being able to counter both of those. But we're going to sit here and think about it some more. And yeah, we just want to show you this amazing this guide that he made. So hope that you enjoyed it and learned a little bit from it. I hope it just gives you a good idea, a basis of kind of where to start with your team, kind of the fundamentals to build on, and so you can try not to overload too heavy into one side to where that you are now being just destroyed completely by 1 or 2 Pokemon because you have nothing to deal with the combination of those 1 or 2 Pokemon. So it's just a nice little guide, I thought, to get your brain rolling and get you into the right kind of mindset for what's going to be going on with this tournament and how different matchups will work. We're going to have the link to that on my Twitter. So the Twitter link for me is going to be in the description. It's also up on the banner where it has the Matty F Baby over Sunset in Paradise. So I'm going to post it on there, so go follow me on Twitter and just look for that post. But I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did learn a little bit, if you did want to learn some more, if you do want to learn some more with me, then make sure that you subscribe and smash bells and share with your friends. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, good luck in your tournament, and let's go get some more Kingdom Cup action ASAP. Let's go. Peace out.